Okay, now as a subject of knowledge, is it knowledge of the present? Okay, first of all, with you and I, we have a starting point that I don't often get to enjoy, which is that you and I both know that even our experience of the present moment is really moments old, measurable moments, not some theoretical moment, but actual measurable, tenth of a second scale moments old. So all of our knowledge is of the past. And when we're talking about why would I know this knowledge applies to the future, I don't. In fact, I expect it not to, right? I am a skeptic. I believe we will always be making better theories. That means the theories that we are guessing, that we are using to guess about what might be true in the future, are inaccurate. We have to improve them. Now, why do we use them when they need improvement? Well, because it's useful to do so. Now, remember, we do have some access to what we call the future. Okay, we only have access to the past, but the future is definable in terms of the past. The future is the fact that the past keeps growing and growing. In a few videos now, I've used an example of the sun coming up tomorrow. That's in the past. Those were statements about the future made in the past. And you know what? The sun has come up every single day since then. Okay? So that's my knowledge of the future. It's just the knowledge of the past future. I can figure out what patterns like induction have worked in the past. And all I can say is they've worked in the past. Will they work in the future? Well, because of a belief in continuity, which is demonstrated the same way, I think they'll be similar. The things in the future will be similar, but they'll also be changing, and therefore I believe we'll need new theories to accommodate the new information. All right. So now an area that I need to clarify with you, just to be very clear, you seem to be wondering or assuming we have to or something about induction being a priori. I'm not taking induction a priori. There is no knowledge of induction before the fact, okay? It's all a posteriori. We have a body of past experiences, and induction seems to have applied to them. So after they have seemed to show a pattern that is compliance with the principle of induction, we then deduce a principle of induction, and it's all about knowledge in the past. Okay, this is what I'm telling you. It's about knowledge in the past. Our knowledge of the past is growing because the past seems to be growing. That's what the future is. I can make experiences guessing about these future, meaning the part of the past that will become the past, but it's not yet the past. I can make guesses about this. Then when it becomes the past, I can make deductions like finding that the theory of induction seems to be true. Now, the idea of induction is that one thing leads to another thing. Okay, one day leads to the next, and this is why the sun coming up is a good example. It's like one day leads to the next. That's a principle of induction applied to our days, the solar cycle, that there's always another one. And so we induce that it will keep going like that. We know that now, through other induction, we know eventually the sun will blow up, or we think that, and we know that the induction about one day always following another will fail at some point. But, until it fails, we don't necessarily have a reason to doubt it, because if it really applies to all of our past experiences, then what are we doubting? I mean, that's all we're trying to do, is find things that apply to all our past experiences. Now, I use this as an example, but the big story is that we have used induction to know that the thing about the sun coming up every day will not actually last forever, that there's a limit to that. And so we're already at the point where that induction had failed, the one about the sun. Okay, but we're not at the point where the belief in the theory of induction itself has failed, because that still applies. Okay, now what you say is the most important question is, how do I know I'm not being deceived about all my past knowledge? The real question is, why does it not matter to me? And here's why. I'm making statements about my past experiences. If all of those experiences were given to me by a deceptive God, my statements about them will still be true. If I say, Newton's laws seem to apply to such and such a degree of accuracy, as I do state, but I'm getting everything from a dream that could be changed. Somebody could change those laws of physics or being given me anything else, but they weren't. They weren't giving me just anything else. I was getting consistent truths. It is true that in my past experiences, Newton's laws have had this accuracy. And furthermore, it's true that if I keep testing it, that they keep seeming to have that accuracy. And if that ever changes because somebody flips a switch that changes the laws of physics, I think I'll notice that. And then I'll have to expand my understanding, and maybe I can even deduce that I'm in a matrix or that I'm being deceived. And I will overcome the knowledge that way. I'm not blocked off from that knowledge because I'm making statements about my experiences, and those statements are true no matter how I'm getting the experiences. You see? Now, if that seems like it cuts us off from the truth, then you need to think about this method that I'm telling you, because no, if we're in a matrix, someday we'll see the laws of physics broken in a way that's not explained through our materialism that we have now, and we'll have to come up with another explanation, and one of them may be that we're in a matrix. If that happens, I'll be the first one to speculate with you on that. As a matter of fact, I'll speculate with you on it even though it doesn't seem to be the case. But certainly if we got evidence in our past of that event, that change where the laws of physics were changed, well then we'd have to take that into account. But for now we're making statements about the experiences that we have gotten and that we do continue to get, and insofar as we're making a guess about what we're going to continue to get in the future, we're still just saying that once it gets into our past that it'll conform to these laws, and we're checking. And if at some point they don't conform, then we'll know we have to expand our views beyond the Newtonian physics. Okay, but has that happened? No, so we're not speculating about things that don't interact with us, but that you think conceivably could. We're speculating primarily about what does happen to us. Okay, so if I'm being deceived by a God that's decided to deceive me by making all of the dreams that he gives me comply with the laws of physics, then that is reality. Then I'm not fooled because I'm saying that I'm making judgments about reality. I don't say I know exactly where all of the sensations come from. I'm just saying what seems to be the case. Now, you said if something is just probably true, that makes it no better than a guess. Well, I'm admitting that they're just guesses, but it doesn't make all guesses equal. For example, something that is impossible, like the concept of omnipotence, because it's internally inconsistent. You know, you can't build a stone that you can't move, so you aren't omnipotent because you can't build a stone you can't move. Okay, that makes that impossible. So not all, guesses or ideas are equal just because none of them are certain. Some are more certain than others. Okay, so some are impossible, some are possible, but they just don't have the evidence going for them. So they are not all equal, and we are comparing, we are relating the solutions, and we are seeing how well they would do in the real world, and we're relating them and seeing and comparing, and one comes out on top, and that's the one we believe. Now, in terms of reasoning, yes, I use reasoning. I'm not saying we don't use reasoning at all. I'm saying that you could just guess and check. But yes, there's reason involved in the checking, and there's reason involved in the guessing, because we use things of our reasoning, like theories of induction, to make the guesses. Okay, so there's a lot of reasoning in the process. But what I'm saying is this basic process, the most general process of guessing and checking your guess, that is reasoning. Okay, we think, no, it's everything being logically consequent. Well, that's not how the brain works. That's not, scientists don't follow the scientific method of just having a hypothesis. They have inspiration, and these things go in a loop, and they are making guesses and checking them and trying to make better guesses and trying to check them in better ways. And that is the process of reasoning. That is reason.